Good evening, everyone. My name is Beth Guide. I'm with Vertical Web, and tonight's topic is going to be SEO Bootcamp. And if you've ever been to Bootcamp, you know that it's intense. So I'm going to try to do as much as I can, as fast as I can through this and give you guys the most amount of information. What I will say is that I always am welcoming questions in the scroll. I don't want it just to be that I'm talking and you guys don't get your questions answered. So I'm very much want this to be interactive, which is kind of why we've kind of taken a clinic approach with this as opposed to a, more formal approach. So with all of that said, I want to start with SEO and the basics and what it is and why we need it, because I think it's one of those things that we need to know. SEO is a long process, or a long practice, if you will, that kind of goes back to the early 2000s. And it involves taking a website and putting it in the first position of Google. And I'm using Google. I mean, if I go back to the early 2000s, there was other search engines, but pretty much Google's like the only player in town at this point. I think we could probably at some point have a Chat GPT search discussion, but it's not quite there yet. So I'm going to stay kind of within the confines of Google for the moment. I see a lot of places talk about what is the future of all of this. And the fact of the matter is, as long as search engines are being used to help find websites, SEO is going to be relevant because you have to be able to get found. So one of the things that I'll say is that when you first start looking at all of this, SEO should be a lead source for you. I have some people come to me and they'll say, well, I only need a brochure on the internet. And I think that as an entrepreneur, as a solopreneur, I think that's a little bit, I'm going to say short-sighted, and I don't mean that bad, but I think that the thing is that most people that actually put the time into their website understand that it becomes a salesperson for them. And if I take my own company, for example, the way we did this is way back when, and I mean, like I said, I'm going back to 99, 2000. I mean, I'm going way back in time here. We put up our website. We were getting 7 orders a week, and we thought we were doing a great thing. And I started to look into, wait, what happens if we put ourselves at the top of a search engine? Well, the second I did that and put us at the top, I went from 7 orders a week to 20 to 30 orders a day. So it basically set my company up in a dynamic and a trajectory, which allowed it to grow. And I mean, we ended up, I think we run about 10,000 people on average, if I give or take. So when I look at that and what we have, and the thing is that with customer retention, you end up keeping them. So everybody, in my opinion, if you are a small business, the one way you can compete is having a good website. And as much as everybody says, well, you can, it's not necessary, I'm just having a brochure. I think that everybody needs to rethink that. And that should even be a goal for your business for 2025 is, how do I make sure my web presence is working for me in a way that I'm getting viable traffic and viable leads for my business off of it. So to me, it's an extremely important thing. And I think for most, I mean, I've got business after business that utilize the website to be able to get that business up off the ground and get it running. So I think if your goal is to have a successful business, and especially if you're just getting started and you don't quite know what to do and where to go, it's imperative to do that. So now comes the bad news. The thing is that there's a lot of ways to have a website out there these days. Now, I didn't have that. I didn't have to make a decision. I just had to sit down with one little program and be able to put together a website. It was Microsoft Front Page, but now there's lots and lots of choices. The problem with those choices is many of them are not geared to be successful within the search environment. So it'll build you a pretty brochure and it'll build you a pretty website. But it probably won't, more than likely won't build you a website that has any type of traffic that comes to it. So I want to kind of address that first, because that's one of the very first first things that I say from a boot camp standpoint. If you're serious about getting your internet marketing going, you need to, the platform builders, Squarespace, Canva. I'm going to actually put Canva on that list now because they've kind of gotten into the foray of all of this. But Canva, Wix, Weebly, Squarespace, Shopify, all of those makes it extremely more difficult for you to have search traffic come in. So the best path forward for anybody that's serious about this is to use WordPress.org. It's self-hosted, meaning that you go to your hosting company, you install the files, you utilize it. It is not tied to a platform or back end that somebody else is running in the way some of these others are. So when you do it that way, you end up working and coming up with having the website work much better when you use WordPress.org. I just want to make sure everybody's hearing me okay, because usually I see a lot of scrolling in the chat. And yes, I did say WordPress.org. Good. Now I know you're all there, and because I'm like looking at the chat going, nobody's saying anything here. Yes, I'm saying
you're welcome to talk a lot, and also, I mean, not chat a lot, and also remember to make that distinction between WordPress.org and WordPress.com.
Yeah. In fact, frankly, I just avoided the WordPress.com. It's WordPress.org is what we need to use. Okay,
Yeah.
so you guys are finally catching up. Okay. I was like, wait up a minute. Usually I get like a scroll of blah, and nobody's saying
Well, some of them are new from our current small business success series, and I see some that have been here for a while as
okay.
well. I mean, coming to your stuff a while, so now they're getting
Okay.
talkative.
All right, good. Okay, so some of the questions says why am I saying it's bad? Why am I saying it can't be done? And what are those platforms and why are they not optimal? So in order to standardize code to be able to run a platform, it's pretty bloated. And my theory is that the code is not optimized to support Google in the way Google thinks. Google is very much based on signals, and I'm going to say garbage in, garbage out, and structure. And these platform builders do not provide the structure and provide the information in a way that Google gets it and interprets it properly. Furthermore, I think they know you're using a platform, and because they know you're using a platform, that there's some right there out of the box. And then the other thing is, those of you that are using a platform, if I had to guess, are putting up a 10 to 15 page website at most. And the problem with this is that Google's not in business to rank your website. Google's in business to provide the best quality amount of information it can to its end users. And usually if you have a website that's 10 or 20 pages, it's not fat enough, if you will. It doesn't have enough girth for Google to take it seriously. I always say you need 100 pages, which sounds scary, except that the way the blog produces out the backside of WordPress, every blog generates about 7 pages. So although I'm saying you need 100 pages, Google WordPress itself helps facilitate that just simply between how it does it. So there's some problems. Some is that you guys don't put enough information in it. But then the other thing is, if I actually sat down and did what I needed to do, I can't usually structure the navigation right. I can't put the siloing right. And we'll kind of touch, I'm hoping, get to some of those topics that we can talk about this. But because I'm not putting those items in, what ends up happening is that Google can't read it. And because they can't read it, or they don't get, and let me say it differently, they can read it. It's about signals. So Google looks for a series of signals to make itself work right, so that it understands. And they actually leaked, and Google themselves didn't, but somebody kind of whistleblower kind of guy leaked that whole entire algorithm. And it's pretty interesting because it's all signal based. What is a platform? A platform is, how do you explain a platform? They're like a place that they have a server and a computer, and it takes it and carves it up in little pieces and then lets you use a piece of it. They hold the master parts of it, and then you just get a little sliver of it. And then your little sliver may or may not work well. Okay, you guys are sticking stuff in the questions and answers. If we can stick it into the chat, it would be good. This one says, Beth and Sandra, what if we have numerous needs, needing a mentor, yes, I am a follower, and I've definitely worked with the website and Google process, although my frustration is when I ask for help, I don't get one clear answer. Okay, this is interesting. You can't get a clear answer. This is actually, you touched on something. So let me explain this. All right. You know, SEO, there's a lot of people with a lot of opinions because Google doesn't publish. It's kind of like the 57 ingredients in Kentucky Fried Chicken. Nobody really knows what they are. Everybody's kind of guessing. The thing is that part of the reason I've done this, and I've kind of partnered with the colleges and the entrepreneur programs, is because people out there don't know, but they say they know. I just had a conversation yesterday with somebody that was a customer of mine, went somewhere else. The guy was insistent that he knew how to fix everything. And he took a website that was getting, 25,000 people a month and put up a new website, didn't do it right, and broke the whole website. And now it's getting 2,000 people a month. And the business is suffering. But the guy sounded very convincing. I mean, I knew he didn't know what he was talking about, but the customer felt like he needed to try it because the guy was so convincing. So you're not going to get a straight answer. You have to come and find somebody that gives you answers the right questions, and provides you with the information. The other thing, and somebody asked me yesterday or Monday to make a video about this, because one of the things that we have is we get in websites from people, and when they come to us to start to talk to us, inevitably I have to tell them that website is not built right. And most people are like, eat gads, it's not built right. What do I do? Or I paid somebody. I had one lady, she paid somebody $50,000 to build a website, and it was flat out wrong. And because it was out, it's hold on, I'll get to your what's the difference here in a second. But the fact of the matter is that if somebody does not know how to do SEO and you hire them, even though they say they do, it can create a horrible problem for you, because you're going to end up with something that you can't use. So it becomes a problem. And I think that's some of the problem and frustration Maria is expressing, because you can ask a whole bunch of people questions and you're going to get a whole bunch of people that are going to give answers. And a lot of the times the answers that you're giving is that it is to their best interest. Their answer is what works out for their best interest. So I've always said we have a higher bar because we work with all these entrepreneur programs, that I have to answer the questions to the best of my ability without interjecting what's best for me into that discussion. So you guys got to find somebody. And if it's not me, you got to find somebody that truly knows what they're talking about. And people like this I think they're few and far between, which is why we've done this. And frankly, COVID did me a favor, because I was able to put this on the internet, something I said I was never going to do. And, we've got people coming from all over the place now for this. So the difference of this between WordPress.com and WordPress.org, WordPress.com is a platform. They control it. They control the install. They control the pieces of it. And you have very limited ability. So you can usually only put in your content, but you can't set the website up right. WordPress.org is the entire set of files. You take it and either you find a hosting company like mine. Somebody asked me what the name of my company again is. It's Vertical Web. It's kind of on my shirt, so you can see it. Somebody like me that does a one push button install. I think Bluehost does that as well. And maybe even HostGator. Now, GoDaddy does not. They sell a version of WordPress.com, and you're going to be very hard pressed to get out of that. So you just have to kind of know what you're doing and why. And I think you've got to take WordPress.org. I'm going to say almost 100% of the time. I mean, granted, if you're doing 10 million people a month, no, it's not a WordPress.com situation or WordPress.org situation. But if you're doing a regular website like most of us have in this world, I think we're in a much better place. So WordPress.org with a hosting company, you know, I mean, you gotta just, I would steer clear of GoDaddy, just simply because their version doesn't do what it's supposed to. So anyway, so that's that story. Let me see, what am I missing here? You, it's Twice Media, Sandra knows these people. Mike, and this, the one person says, is this what my company does, and are the recommendations for it for? So here's the problem. You're saying, is there an affordable website builder? Okay, the reality of this is that the builder part of this is the problem. Okay, so you need WordPress.com or excuse me, WordPress.org, and inside that WordPress.org framework, you need to be able to just type in, you need something like Elementor or Beaver Builder that's built into it that will allow you to graphically drag and drop things around the screen, but it's a standalone install and not based on a platform. Okay, so I just want to, yeah, see, I just paid GoDaddy to build a website for me and they're having trouble building it. And okay, 9 times out of 10, when GoDaddy's building a website, they're using and I don't mean this a bad way, but a bastardized version of WordPress.com. So be careful. I've seen them do it both ways. I don't know why they would be having trouble building it. That's a big piece of this. Let me see. All right. So what did I mean by 100 pages? I meant exactly that. You have to have 100 pages. What's interesting is I say you have to have 100 pages. When you put up a blog post, it automatically creates a couple extra pages. So Google sees that you have 100 pages on a list. You may not have actually. So you pretty much have to create 20 blog posts and you'll have the enough pages that you'll at least have a website that'll be taken seriously. All right. So I don't know why all of a sudden everybody's deciding to pay GoDaddy to build a website. I'm not quite sure where that's all coming from. I don't know that I've ever had a whole, like several of you in the same room saying, oh, I just paid GoDaddy. GoDaddy can build a website, but I don't know that they're going to build you a ranking website. And inevitably, when the people show up at my door with GoDaddy websites, I end up having to rebuild them. So some of them are easy to do because they did it in WordPress.org and I can fix it. Some of them have been, I had to burn it right to the ground because they did it with WordPress.com and you can't export it. So these are some of those questions that I think you need to know, because if you have the wrong framework for your website, you're immediately at a deficit. And to me, that's a big problem. I don't know when that was, Grace. I don't really know when that was. I mean, we've been around longer than them. I don't know when they've ever had good service. I just pick and what I will say about them, and I'm not meaning to speak ill of them, but what they are is they're good until they're not. And usually when somebody has problems with them, they have really significant problems with them, and they're like, oh, they were good and now they're not. And it's because ultimately they're not in business to help entrepreneurs. They're in business to have downline marketing and sell merchant accounts, and the hosting is just a small piece of it. All right, let me catch up on some of these questions. All right, so let's see. What did I miss? Difference between WordPress and .com. We did that. We know that what I do is, just so we know, all know, because you guys, several of you have asked, I build websites, I rank websites, I host websites. We basically provide all services. Anything web related, we do it. And we'll do applications, e-commerce, development, you name it, we do it. So we're a one-stop shop. I think we're a little ahead of our time on that. Okay, I just paid them. I don't know why the person said they're having trouble. That seems odd to me that they're having trouble building website. Somebody else just asked what you should look for in an SEO company, and I think that's a really good question. And it's something that I've been searching for to try to say to somebody that doesn't know what they're looking at, how to look at it. So what I mean when I say that is that if you're an if you're a dentist or an accountant, you're only going to work in a small area. People may drive a little bit to come and see you, but for the most part, somebody's going to go, dentist near me, they're going to go. If you're a restaurant, there's only so far people are willing to go for those type services. That's an easier lift than I want to sell LED lights to all of America. And I think that's one of those delimiters. So you're going to get in a lot less trouble if you're a localized business and you need to do local SEO. I have come behind good companies and I've come behind bad companies. Usually what I'm going to say is I think they need to sound like me when they talk. I think that a lot of people come up and say, hey, you're the first person I talk to that actually can explain it to me and knows what I'm talking about. And it's not nebulous. A lot of people say to me, oh, you do voodoo or hocus pocus, or it's not a Disney movie what I do. Okay. It's not a lot of hocus pocus. It is math, it is English, and it is being implemented in a way that a computer understands, reads the signals, and can output it. There's no secret sauce, there's no hidden anything. I will say that tactily, sometimes I can see something and know it's wrong. But anybody that when you're interviewing them, if they can't give you solid answers of what they're looking for, then they're probably they themselves don't know. The other thing I see a lot of is people here in the United States that hire folks in other countries to implement this stuff. And then one of the questions you can ask is, how do you feel about AI? Because I'm going to tell you that Google is saying, if there's new information, we're okay with AI. But if it's just a regurgitation, we're not okay with AI. Well, anybody that understands how AI works, there's nothing unique and original in AI. So the answer implies that they're really not okay with AI. So you're going to get people that said, and I hear it already, oh, my web guy said you can have AI. I'm going to tell you right now that by the end of next year, it's going to really be frowned on in the SEO and web world. Not in writing a correspondence letter to a customer, not writing a sales letter, but they're looking for original thought. And AI scrapes the internet and learns, so it doesn't have an original thought. I think we're all in trouble in a Terminator movie if AI can start to outthink humans. All right. So that would be something I would start to ask somebody a little bit about, because depending on that answer might be how I disqualify them. I taught a class this morning up in Conroe, and one of the things I said, because I kind of noticed everybody put their hands up on this, if they won't let you have your username and password and admin control over your website, I wouldn't hire them. You always should be 100% in control. You should always have a username and password. If they are unwilling to give you one, it's a red flag. Unfortunately, web designers and SEO people are like car auto mechanics. There's some really good ones, and then there's some really bad ones. And you don't really know until you take your car to the shop. And unfortunately, in this business, you can get 6 months down the road before you realize whether you have a really good one or a really bad one. So that's some of my thoughts on that. Okay, so let's see, where am I now? How do I evaluate a web builder if I am not able to evaluate? How to screen? Um, I think what I'm trying to say to you is you don't want to use a website builder. So there's nothing really to evaluate. You go, you put it in WordPress, and you learn how to use WordPress. Anything else, if your goal is to use your website in any capacity to generate leads, you belong in WordPress.org, and there's nothing to evaluate. Okay. I know I have asked you WordPress.org with a Thrive. Okay. Elementor is better than Thrive. So she's asking me about a Thrive theme. But the thing is, Thrive created its own platform within WordPress. I tried it for 5 minutes and it went in the garbage, and we went back to Elementor because I was trying to come up with a quicker way to do this for everybody. And at the end of the day, it was much cleaner just to kind of go back to Elementor with an Astra theme. Okay, it says, does advertising with Google improve your rankings? Oh, I love this question. Okay, because if I ask Google, Google's going to say no. I think when I look at their documents on what they leaked and click-through rates, I think there is some click-through rates and some behavior that improves, but it doesn't offset having 100 pages, because until you get 100 pages, they don't even take you seriously and let you come to the table. So I don't care how much advertising you spend, you're too tiny. And look, it's not hard to get to 100 pages. I mean, it literally is a couple Sundays of sitting down and writing about your business and writing what your business is about, what you bring to the table. 10 reasons, like I said to one of my friends, I said, write me an article on why you should use a bank instead of owner finance on a house, on real estate. She was able to do that in an hour at the kitchen table at 11 o'clock at night. So these are not that hard to come up with because they're on your own space and you should be able to write them. I'll talk about content here in a minute. I'm looking to see what time it is. I just want to make sure I'm mindful of time. But I'll talk about content and content requirements here in a minute. But at the end of the day, if you know your subject matter, it should not be difficult for you to write a page, period, end of story, because you know it. What I will acquiesce slightly on is you can use something like ChatGPT to write the framework if you sit down then and rephrase it. So what I might do is say, give me 5 reasons why I want to do SEO, and ChatGPT will spit that out for me. But then I'm going to look them over and I'm going to say, do I believe this? Do I not believe this? Is this what I want to do? Is this not what I want to do? So as a result, what ends up happening is I rewrite it, and I rewrite it to 100%. By the time it's over with, it's 100% me. I just use somewhat of the prompts of ChatGPT to make that work better. So when I do that, I'm very much cognizant that I need to rewrite the entire situation. So
Isn't
um,
that true also? You told me once that that Google, while they are helping you use Chat GPT, they also have algorithms to see how much of your content seems like it was done
well, and this
in
is the thing.
that
If it's
way.
not original, Sandra, if all right, so okay. I've used my example that I did one on Google penalties. And what was the difference in Google penalties? And it's 4,000 or 5,000 words. Um, truth be told, I did it while I was cooking dinner on a Sunday night. because I took the bones of it and I said, oh, I agree with this. I don't agree with this. But then I started to say, well, this is why I don't agree with this. And what made it unique and why the article has done as well as it has, because it's sitting, I think, at number 8 now under Google. If you look at Google penalty recovery, I think it's like on the first page. But the thing is that I read the answers and then I massaged the answers to be what I thought they should be. And the problem with it, with the Chat GPT stuff is, first of all, that database is not up to date. I don't even know how COVID is in it. I don't know what numbers are in it, because the last I had heard, they had stopped in 2020, that they had scraped the internet to 2020. So you might ask it who's the president, and it doesn't know. It may not know who won the 2024 election in any capacity. And the reason it doesn't know it is because it hasn't scraped it and it's not up to date on it. So as a result, it can't give you new thought because it's dependent on old thought to produce an answer. And if Google's in the business to provide the best possible answer, it's going to want something that's more thought-provoking and not just so much repetition of somebody else's something. So that's where the rub is in all of this. So yeah, you can use it, but if there's nothing original in it, it's worthless. So what have we accomplished? And then at some point, if you use it too much, they'll ban you. So there's that problem going on with it as well. So the thing is if you can make it your own, then you're in a much better position with it. And I think that's the thing. And every time I open it and I did it here for Kingwood. I had a real estate agent that I needed to write pages up for. And I told my staff, go run it through ChatGPT, bring it back to me. And because I've lived in Kingwood for 38 years, I was able to add features and discussions to the write-ups because I live here. So I added things in that are nowhere on the internet, just simply because I know the area as well as I do. So that's the proper way to do it, is to use it as a framework to kind of say, this is what it should be there. If I was going to say, why should I pave a road with asphalt? I have a concrete company, and they have some really interesting views, good ones. I don't mean it in a bad way, but they're not, their views on concrete and cement and binding agents, when you should use asphalt, when you should use concrete, are somewhat unique to them. How much subfloor on a limestone should you use? Well, they know the answer to that. Their answer is more than what a typical paving company will use. So they're bringing something unique to the table. So I hope everybody kind of understands what I'm saying with that, is that what do you do different than everybody else? What makes you unique? And if you can do that, then you can get it. I see a question here. It says, do you recommend people to use Upwork or Fiverr to get designs and SEO guys? I'm going to say 100% no. Those people are not, I don't even know how to answer that. Because the thing is, a lot of them are in different countries. English is not their first language, and Google knows that, and they actually penalize for that. And sometimes their words are not in the right order. And inevitably, when I find these messy websites, they came out of some foreign country, because the culture, a lot of them just do what they're told. And I'm going to say, honestly, I never do what I'm told. If you tell me to do something and it's wrong, I'm going to tell you it's wrong. And if you want to go away, it's okay. But I'm going to always do what's best for you. But you'd have to be able to know that. And the Fiverr folks, they just do what they're told. And if you I guess technically I could probably use a Fiverr person because I know what's wrong with stuff. So I would know how to correct it. But then is the savings enough for me to go behind somebody and try to fix it behind them? I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole. And you're right. A lot of these marketing companies use and resell the labor to the public, and it is bad. And that's a question that I don't know if you ask somebody, they would tell you that honestly, but it is not the right approach to that. And it's not something I would ever do. Because here's the thing, okay? So let's just say somebody asked me what SEO costs, and SEO costs, any good SEO costs anywhere probably between $1,000 and $3,000 or $4,000 a month on average, okay? By the time you figure out somebody doesn't know what you're doing, you may have given them $12,000. I don't know about you, but I can't afford to give somebody $12,000 just to go find out they didn't know what the heck they were doing. So this is where this is a problem. And it's funny because we start to talk about these things, and I've got a lot of opinions on it because I really do think a lot of these folks out there, they mean well, but they don't know what they don't know, and they don't have a respect that maybe they don't know something. And it becomes a problem. It's just like this guy that destroyed this travel agency website. I literally had a discussion with him. I'll never forget it. I was driving up Beltway 8, and he said, "Why won't you train me on what I need to do to save this guy?" I said, "Why would I teach you how to, like, a job for free? Like, why would I train you to do something? You're not tied to my company. You're not part of my company." And then his answer to me was, "How do you know I don't know how to do it?" I said, "I can basically tell just by the answers you're giving me." Well, at the end of the day, he destroyed the guy's website and doesn't know how to fix it. One of my staff members came to me and said, "Here's the fix for it when you're ready." Because we do this on a daily basis and have for so long. And even my kids that work here, and I say kids, but they're now in their 30s, they've been here since they've been teenagers. So they have grown up in this industry. And that's something that probably is if you just woke up and said, "I'm going to do SEO," that's not a thing. That's really not something that exists in this world. So, okay, is there a way to export Wix to WordPress? The answer is no. Weebly, yes. The only way to do Wix is cut and paste. Have you heard? I don't. Yeah, if it sounds scammy, assume it's scammy. There's no $79 websites in this world. So, and again, remember what I said, by the time you figure out it's not working, you may be thousands of dollars into this. Do people still use meta tags in a head section? Not meta keywords, but they're still going to use a title tag, and they're still going to use a meta description. So that's a trick question. Let's see. What price range should you expect? Local, I think you can find some like local, like our base local. If the website's set up right, we charge about $500 to do local SEO. That's the low end. I think the sweet spot is right around $1,000 a month for local businesses. And then depending on how competitive, like a lawyer, you never can do $1,000 a month because they have people that are paying $60,000 a month. So you have to be able, some of the dentists, depends on what you want to do. If you want to be a cosmetic dentist, you're going to pay $5,000 to $8,000. If you're just a general dentist, you can pay $1,000 to $1,500. So it all just depends. Okay. What advice do you have for somebody that can't afford to hire someone? Is it possible for a novice to build a website and do SEO and get yes. So here's the story. Okay. I have had people do it. And what they did is they just came and listened to me. I'm actually telling people what they need to know. If you sit around here for six months or more, you'll learn it. The interesting part is we have put up class upon class. So all these seminars that I've been running, especially back through COVID, every one of them are sitting on the website. So if you're willing to roll your sleeves up and learn it, then yes, it's possible. And you don't have to pay anybody. It becomes time consuming. Eventually, you won't be able to do SEO because you'll be running your business. and then you'll go hire somebody. But the reality is, can you do it? I did it. I didn't wake up and say, hey, I know how to do SEO. I started to read and read and read, and it was something that intrigued me. My very first customer came to me and asked me why they weren't on Yahoo. And I was like, well, I don't know. I don't know why I'm not on Yahoo, but we'll find out for you. So we that kind of is what started me down that road. The thing is my kids, and I say kids, and my one friend says to me all the time, they're 32 years old, and I'm selling them short when I say they're kids. But again, forgive me, I've had them with me since they've been teenagers. So my kids used to come to me with articles that they would read on the internet and say, see, you're wrong. It says this here. And what I would tell them is those articles were written just short of being correct. And I would show them within the article of what was missing and what wasn't being said. And they ended up, so they know how to do it, very well now. But you have to watch what you read, because everybody has an opinion. It doesn't make that opinion right. So that's the story. But if you stick around here and stick with these classes, I teach several others throughout the month and throughout the city. But if you're willing to take the time and learn, I actually am telling everybody what you need to know. But it just takes a while to get that all together. And this says, even if you learn SEO, do you have to always keep up with it? Yes. Okay. I'm going to answer that question. It says you have to keep it up with it month for month, year to year. Okay. There's some really basic tenets. And if you do the basic tenets right, you don't have to play in the flux world. So I used to have two business partners, and it was a very interesting exercise for me, because the first guy, he would figure out Google's system and would game it to excess. So he would know what needed to go, where, when it would need to go, how it would need to go. He would create artificial links. He would do all these things. And every time Google changed its algorithm, they'd smack him in the head, because he was walking out all the way to the edge of the cliff. And every time Google cut the cliff back, he would fall out and have to go fix it. My second business partner, he did it, but he didn't do it to the extreme as of the first guy. What I found, and there was one big shakeup, and I think it was 2012. I kind of thought I was in the same vein as those guys, and I was kind of manipulating it sort of the way they were. But what I found is I was far more conservative, and I understood the rules. So if you understand the rules and you set up the page correctly, you're informative with what you do, you don't employ tactics, it really has been very durable and standing. I think that's the best way to say it. So if you do it with the right intent, I mean, I have pages that have been ranking on the internet for the better part of 10 years, and Google's never removed them. Because they were informative, they gave information, they met the criteria, there was structurally, they were correct. And because when I did it all right, they don't truly, what they change is they're looking for people who are gaming the system. So in my mind, I'm teaching you guys how to work and do the best within the system, not game the system. And there are two different ways of doing this. Okay. There's a way to do it that you can walk out on the edge, and you're constantly banging up against that algorithm to push it as far as you can. And then there's the other that says, I'm going to do it systemically correct, and I will be a long-term enduring situation. And I'll tell you, Vertical Web itself, I took and rolled up about 3 other websites with it. And when I did it, I took the old content, I assembled it right, I put it in a good theme, I put it in WordPress, I did everything I needed to do to it, and that thing came out ranking within the first 3 weeks. But it was because it was set up right, the content is good, I'm constantly putting stuff up to help customers and not necessarily help me. I mean, yes, do I? In fact, frankly, I could use to go through my own pages and go re-optimize them, because from that standpoint, on really, really high-end terms, we've slipped to the second page. We've been so busy, I haven't had to fix it. But the reality is that I just need to sit down and turn some dials, move some words around, and do that. But overall, the core guts of everything are perfect. And I can't, you don't have to, as long as you're not chasing the algorithm and you're living with inside it, it's going to be okay. So if you understand the basic tenets and understand what we're saying to do and understanding how we're saying to do it, and you live in that world, you're going to be okay. If you try to take what I say to do, and this is a common thing, making links, okay? So there are people out there that make links to their website, and they go and they make every fabricated link that they possibly can. And then there's people like me that say, okay, I'm going to get a link. In fact, Sandra does me a solid every year and gives me a link from HCC because of the sponsorship. I get, links from, in fact, somebody found it in the Houston Chronicle. I got a thing from Commissioner Ramsey's office about this class, because wherever it was advertised, it came up, and I got a message from the chief of staff over there saying, "Hey, good job," because they're a friend of mine. So the thing is that I don't do everything to extreme, and as long as you don't do it to extreme, you're okay. So if we're good, I want to kind of start to talk about, yeah. All right, work in progress on links, not sure how to access after the event. Google has them. It's no big deal. Oh, the classes that we have, they're all on the website, they're all on the YouTube channel. I'm even cutting them up now into 50 little pieces and sticking them on TikTok. So I've got the pieces out there all over the place. It just is dependent on Score giving me the videos. As long as they give me the videos, they're up and on the websites, and you can go and get them off the vertical website. We put them up there, so
You're going to put
we're
the
good in
vertical
that.
web, vertical web page where they
Yeah,
are,
hang on, let me get that.
not just the vertical web website,
No, I know
but
what you're
show them the
asking for.
specific page.
It actually has a on demand. We did a podcast. We've done a podcast, we added TikTok, and we have a YouTube channel, and it's
So the
all edited.
podcast is just the audio, right? And then
Yes,
the
yes,
the YouTube is the
the
video
video
of it,
class.
right?
Yeah, frankly, the podcast is the most important, is the most popular. We get about, God, I think I've got 20 or 30,000 listens to now, because
So the
that thing's
podcast is
fun.
good to listen to you, but then they can also see when you're done. Like today, you're just talking a lot, but on the other ones where you are showing different websites and different tools, then that makes the video more valuable, right?
Yeah, but what I've noticed is that the podcast is what everybody listens to, and and that's fine. That's why I did it that way, so it does it. But this is the home page for everything. Okay, so the on demand is here. We have the schedule here. You can see. In fact, I've got to take some of the old ones down, but you can see we've got the schedule here, and we've got the podcasts here, YouTube channels here. The TikTok channels here, it's all plugged in. You can see here they all are. So
So
huh?
did you see someone else ask, do you do WordPress clinics
Yeah,
sometimes too?
okay. So no, I'm not. Oh, I guess I could share my screen, but no, I'm not sharing my screen. Hold on. Let me see, where is it? All right, so yeah, so see, I think I put the link in. If you come down, we've got the, the video. I've got the sign up for a calendar. So you get a sign up for the calendar, and you can get, so when we put a new post up, you get an email as well. And then you've got the podcast, and then I have on-demand classes, and we put TikTok in now too. So I even got me as I'm sitting talking down the road sometimes. I have been on TikTok. I have been doing it outside of the class pieces, and actually if something pops up and on my mind, it's there. So we've got a little of everything going on there. Okay. Okay, so that's we should be good. I want to go on to content, because I don't want to just talk about, so platform is one of the things. And in case we run out of time, because inevitably we always do, I want to talk about content. I want to talk about user intent. I want to talk about local SEO. So those are some things that I want to try to touch on tonight, if I can get to them. Okay. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about content for the website. There's two different types of content for a website that you have. One would be what I'm going to call, and I guess I'm going to share my screen because my website's a bit of a textbook case for what to do and what not to do. Hold on. Okay, so here's my browser. You all can see my browser, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I'm trying to get to where I've got both things up here. Sometimes when I open the screen, it doesn't give me the right window.
Another good thing about them signing up like that is we do a clinic with you, but you do other ones as well. So when they get on your list, they'll get notices of the other clinics too.
There's at least 3, and I may be doing 4th. So there's at least 3, if not 4 a month. And the topics are always different, guys. So there's that as well. Let me see. There we go. I needed to break the chat window out to the side. Sorry about that. All right, so we're back to, okay, so 2 different types of pages, and I'm going to try to do pages and structure at the same time. So let's go to our home page. Okay, this thing is the cover of a book, and it has to be laid out as such. And inevitably, I see people put together their cover of their book, and the cover of their book does not have what they do on it. I don't know if the young lady is here. If she is here, I hope she forgives me for using her website. But I talked to this lady today. I ran into her in the class I teach in Kingwood. She does not have the attributes for what she does anywhere on this page. So Google doesn't really quite understand it. So if I shut this off, oh, you are here. Good. I'm using your website because you didn't make the changes we talked about yet. Okay, so when I pull up this website, it's got some base problems. One is it doesn't have a title tag. So if you look up at the top of this, I don't have a title tag that says what they do. I come here and it says redefining relaxation. It's in an image. Google can't read that. They have no idea what she does. If I come down here in little teeny tiny whiny print over here, it says I'm a massage therapist and I work in Lake Conroe, and I work with Montgomery, Conroe, Willis, Magnolia, in the Woodlands. The fact of the matter is, if this is the cover of her book, she's not telling anybody on the cover of her book what she does. If you take conversely my website, graphically it's okay, but it screams what we do: SEO, web design, web hosting. The boxes are here in Google's face. So let's talk about structure. The title tag of this website, and again, remember it's a boot camp, so I'm going faster than I normally would. Okay, title tag says Houston SEO Service, web design agency, SEO Houston, and web hosting. And the reason it says all of this is because that's what we do. Nowhere does it say vertical web, which is the most interesting thing of all, because I'm the least important part of it. So, Maria, I'm sending those notices out. It's on the notices I come. It's not through Sandra and Score, the ones in Kingwood. We're running that class now outside the framework of the chambers, and East Montgomery County is kind of quasi supporting us. And we had one in Conroe this morning that had like 40 some people in it. Anyway, so if you look at this page, the page solidly tells you what we do without actually having to do that. If you notice, I have it saying we do what we do. I have it redefine what we do. It matches the navigation, and it's in the title tag. So I have checked the most important boxes with how I do this, and it says in the title tag. If you look up here where my cursor is, you see how I keep blinking that on, and it says Expert SEO Services, Web Design Agency, SEO Houston, Web Hosting. That's the title tag. I put in that title tag what we do. So Google knows what we do. I'm not important. My brand is not important from a Google standpoint. What's important is what I do. And this whole thing screams it. If I take Sarah's website over here, you have no idea what she does. You might see you can book, you can leave a review. This is all screwy up here. And then I don't know what she does in through here. And then I have to read in tiny print that she does this. I have to do a lot of figuring out what this lady does. And that's the difference. Google is not going to take the time to try to interpret what you're trying to tell them. Either you check the boxes or you don't. And if you don't check the boxes, you're not on the first page. Okay, so understand the objective is to be on the first page. So, as we're saying that. Okay, so let's kind of come back. So the homepage needs to be set up right. It's different than what I'm about to say, okay? The rest of these pages that are set up underneath, what I'm going to call them is an evergreen page. And what that means is these are pages that are staying on this website that are usually agnostic of opinion, okay? It's a matter of fact. So if I go to the web design, there's no opinion in this page whatsoever, okay? We build websites. We build them nationally. We build them in Houston. We are web designers. We've been doing this for a long time. We follow Google's best practices and guidelines. It's all factual statements that will not change. Okay. I put a portfolio in, so I have the pages and the way people that we work for. I've got this page had to be 1,600, 2,000 words when I wrote it. So I knew all of that when I wrote this page. So I had to go and I wrote all of this by hand. I did not use ChatGPT because it didn't exist when I wrote this page. So this is all me, all by myself. If there's a typo, it's because I'm dyslexic, and it is what it is. Okay. So with all of that said, I did all of this, I built this in, but I want to look at the anatomy of this page in a second, okay? And then I put all the other web design services and what we bring to the table. I have a nice little bottom here. And then one of the most important things that I did is I put related topics at the bottom of the page. Excuse me, I keep sneezing. Funny story is I grew up in New Jersey. I went back to New Jersey, and ever since I went to New Jersey, I keep sneezing. Somebody said I was allergic, and I haven't gotten out of it yet. So everybody can have a good laugh at that. So now let's look at the anatomy of this page. So this page as agnostic of opinion. And the reason I'm stressing that is because opinions change, approaches change. This is a never changing page. It will not change. Okay. So that's why it's being called an evergreen page. What I'm about to say is consistent with whether it's a blog page or an evergreen page. Oh, I got tea on me. Okay. So the first thing you'll notice is I have Houston web design, best website designer, Houston and web development. That's my title tag. Okay. If you come down here, I've got custom web design and development that puts your company on a digital map. The most important thing is web design is an H1, and then underneath I have custom web design and development. So I have what this page is about written in this. If you come and play this back and emulate what I'm telling you to do, you will have a ranking page. Okay, so understand that. The next thing I did is I came and I said, I wanted this page needed to rank on Houston web design, period. That was the whole purpose of this page. The fact of the matter is, how do I make your page? Because it's not an opinion, it's not dated. The page itself talks about the service we provide and how we provide it. There is nothing ever going to change in that, because how we provide our service is how we provide our service, which is why it makes it a timeless page. We'll get to one pages are not timeless in a minute. Okay. I want this page to rank on Houston web design. So you see Houston web design is at the top of the page. You see that Houston web design is here. The reason we threw national in there, just so everybody understands, is I have customers, web design and SEO customers across the globe. Okay. So we have a bunch in South America. I have a bunch in Europe. And because I have that going on, we didn't want to make ourselves be just Houston, but I had to make ourselves just Houston because that was where we were. And Google says web design is a local term. So I had to come up with a way, and these are some of the challenges you're going to face. I had to come up with a way to say, okay, I know that web design, Google says, is local. But I have people all over America, and actually, frankly, in about 15, 18 different countries that I'm doing web design for and getting involved with. So I had to do that. And in fact, if you look, I even say, although we're a Houston-based web design company, we also have websites throughout the United States and Europe. Okay, I actually need to use South America because when I wrote this page, we didn't have South America, and now we do. But I'm writing this with the thing in mind that I have Houston web design throughout it. So if let's see if I can do this. Let's see if this does this. I have Houston web design is on this page 10 times. Okay, because that's the main thing that I wanted to write about. Okay, and everything else supports that. You see, I have web design portfolio. Again, web design is there. One other thing I had to do is a website design Houston. If you notice, I baked that in. I actually had to put that here, and I stuck the Houston in a comma up against vertical web. So it knew that Houston and vertical web should be, so that, because there is a vertical web in Tennessee. I think they're out of business, but every once in a while. So I needed to reemphasize Houston so we didn't get confused with another company. As you keep going through this repetitively, you're going to see that web design Houston, Houston web design, website design is throughout this page repetitively. I can't give you the mathematics on it. I used to be able to say, no, it's not cannibalizing anything. All right. And where I was going to go with that is the math that is needed on this page for Google to understand that this page is about web design. You're going to take a keyword and you're only going to use it 1% at a time. And you're kind of using the cannibalization of, you're using that term wrong. And let me explain that. So there's people out there that say, don't cannibalize your keywords. It's like a big deal, because we used to write a page for web design Houston, web design Kingwood, web design Conroe, web design the Woodlands, and you would be writing the same page repetitively. And what ends up happening is Google can't decide what your number one page is. but there's a way to combat that if you do it correctly. It's not on the page that you're cannibalizing. It's when you have other pages that hurt it. Okay. So you have to have, when I say 10 times, that's keyword density, not cannibalization. It's a different term. So you have to have a certain density. The density is about 1%. But the way Google did this now, so you know the guy that asked about changes, or the girl, I can't remember if it's a guy or a girl. When that person asked about that, one of the changes is the keyword density went from being pretty much if I wrote 1,000 words, I said my word 10 times, mathematically and formulaically it was the same. Now what they're doing is they're going up against the other people in the space. So what you have to look at is how many times is web design on the top 10, and you have to average it. How long is the web design pages on the top 10, and you have to average it, and it'll give you what the density is, because they're scoring it up against other pages that they're ranking. Not everybody is 1%, 1,000 words. So that's a piece of a change. I don't think Sabitha is here. And I don't know, I don't know where that is, but, and it says, can you register your web name nationally, or other website designers can't use it for their page? When you register a domain name, it's yours. You can't, so vertical web is mine. Nobody else can have it. Okay. No, I don't know why it says that. My
It says
name.
that because she sent you the link to log in today. So I'll change your,
Right. Yeah. No.
I'll
All right.
change
I
your
was
name
like,
for
man,
you.
Sabitha's not here. Why does everybody keep addressing?
She sent you her thing to log in, but I'll change your name.
Thank you. I'd like to be Beth Guide, please.
Yes.
Okay. So,
There you
all
go.
right. So yes, you can register your name nationally. When you register a domain, it is international. Nobody else can have it, but I can do Vertical Web Texas or Vertical Web Tennessee. There's nothing that precludes me from putting a hyphen in Vertical Web. I went and got a registered trademark on it, so nobody can use Vertical Web in any other capacity. And if I find they're doing it, I can go after them. So, anyway, so, but yeah, just register your domain and it's yours, and that's probably the easiest way to do that. Hey, look, she changed my name. Good job, Sandra. Good job. Okay.
Thank you.
So we understand keyword density, because I said a whole mouthful about that. We understand that you got to take your keyword and kind of bake it in here so many times, and that the top 10 dictates what those numbers are. It's an average. Now, let me give you one little example. If I do Italian honeymoons, let's say, I'm going to get Costco travel. And when I get Costco travel, it's going to have 27,000 words on it. You're not going to you're going to throw Costco right out of the average, because you can't use a website that has 27,000 words on it. How you're going to find out how many words on it is you're just going to take it, you're going to highlight it, you're going to throw it into Microsoft Word, and it's going to tell you what the word count is for the pages. I do have a tool, but it'll cost $29 a month. It's called SERPWorks. It's SERPWORX, and it will display the word count of a page so that you can help evaluate it. Someday, and I often wonder if it'll be long enough to have a class on, but maybe it will. Someday, I'm going to do a class on how do I knock somebody out of the #1 spot. Like, I can look at any website and tell what it's going to take to knock them out of a #1 spot on a keyword. What I will tell you is that if they're #1 because of links, then you have a different problem. But if they're #1 because of content, that's an easy one to fix. Okay, so I'm taking this evergreen page, I'm optimizing it for web design Houston. I'm saying it website design. I have variants of the words. I have it all here. And then the other thing I did, because I needed word count, is I put in the other sections that we have. So Houston website design, search engine optimization. And if you notice that the SEO page is linked to the SEO page part of the website, the web hosting is linked to the web hosting, web development is the link to web development, because when I make those links, it's sending signals out to Google as to what I think is important. So it's kind of like, if it looks like a duck and quacks like a duck, it must be a duck. So if I take a page and I say in my title tag it's on web development, and then I have other pages that inside my website that are pointing to it that say web development, and then the page is written about web development, well, that page must be safe to say that that web page is about web development. Okay, so just know that when you do these kind of things, as long as you tie them together right, they work just fine. Okay. Okay, if you want a trademark, you got to go to an IP lawyer. You can try to do it yourself, but it's probably way too complicated. It took us 2.5 years to do one on ourselves. It took me 20 minutes with a lawyer and gave him a check, and it was over with. Okay, so I added all this in. Eventually, my long-term goal is to have a web design, this page built out. What is a WordPress expert? What should it be? I have a web development content creation business. I have all these pieces that I'm going to build other pages in. You guys have to think like that. You have to think about, how do I take a page, and then how do I put content on that page that I can create other pages that help support it. When you get down to the bottom, you'll notice I linked those pages together. So all those pages I just kind of rattled at you, I have them linked together. So all the web design topics are the same. Technically, this would be, if I pick this up and put it on vertical web design, let's say I had that, right? I picked this up and I put that, this is basically a baby website on web design. It's all linked together as such. It's all set together as one. And when you do that, Google says, okay, they have this self-contained unit on web design, and it's supported with other pages. So just humor me a second, and I will click through these other pages. If you see, I have that's the main page. That's the page we're on here. And it says web design company versus a web development service. Okay. This is something that we thought was important to put up. So we put, and if you see it again, Houston Web Design Company and Web Development Services, again, thinking about, what do I want to rank on? What is the keyword that people use, and what do people put in? So I took that, I wrote that in here. I put this in here. I'll answer that in a second. I put this all in here, and I pulled it all together, and this page supports my main web design page, but it's also on web development. I actually think this page ranks on web development Houston. Hang on a minute. I have to fix the web design page because some of the numbers have changed. I actually have to add about 1,200 words to it. And that's like a rainy Sunday project in February. So it's not February, and I haven't gotten there yet. I get all screwed up when it's football season, because my Sundays stop being about whatchamacallit and they start being about football and stop being about website design. Let me see if we are here. Usually we're somewhere within this. Man, they've got a lot of ads these days. Let's see. It thinks it doesn't know I'm in Houston. I got to do some work on this page because it kind of has slipped down a little bit. It thinks I'm in the Woodlands, so I can tell because it's giving me ads for the Woodlands, and it's not giving me ads for Houston. And from web design side, it thinks it's giving me, because I'm sitting in Kingwood, it's all screwed up when it's looking for this. Here we are. So we're on page 3 here with this page. So So the answer is in Kingwood, my Houston page is ranking on the 3rd page. So you got to remember that there is that disparity because of where I'm sitting tonight versus if I was in my office downtown, it would be different. Often, yes, and priorities. Football is a priority in my world. I have to say, I get 17 weeks plus the Super Bowl stuff, and then that's it for a really long time until next August. So with that all said, I'm gonna have to make some adjustments on this page because I can see it has slipped a little bit. And then we can, we can have a discussion at some point, not tonight, but we'll have a discussion at some point about how do I move that page up. Maybe we'll take this page and make a case study and I can kind of say, this is what I did to it. And it says, how do you create a link for each page? So the thing is, it's just a matter of highlighting and linking to it. So, but I had to put 5 pages here for them to link them together. So you see here they are again. Here's the other 4 pages. This is the home page. Plus here's the 4 supporting pages that go along with this. All right. And you notice it's only web development pages and web design pages that are linked together. There's no SEO pages on this. So let me give you another example of this. And I was kind of using this one as a textbook because this one's a little textbook too as well. If I come down in here, I've got tax services. Let me go on tax services. And you see we've got tax preparation. It goes to a tax preparation page. If you notice every time I put over, because these are the keywords. So we took his services and we made keywords out of those services and then we made sub pages. These are all evergreen pages and they all need to exist and they all need to be linked together for them to work right. So if you look on the bottom, I have my related pages. I've got franchise tax, year-end, IRS problems, tax problems, retirement tax planning. If you notice, those pages somewhat match what's up here in the top. Under what the heck, what am I under? Tax planning. So you see year-end tax planning, tax projects, and retirement planning. So some of the pieces of my navigation are actually living in these structured pages together. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got at least 6 pages co-opted together under this. So that helps give power to that section of the website. And you said, how do I make those links? I just type them in and link them to where they go to. Now, what I will say is that WordPress has a, oh, hold on a second. WordPress does have a piece of it built into it to help do this a little bit. But at the end of the day, we're linking all our pages together to output it so that they're working together. Sorry about that. All right, so that takes care of the evergreen pages. Now there is going to be, you can see all these pages that are listed here are these evergreen pages that I'm telling you about. All right, they're all there, they're all together, they're all doing stuff, they're all working, they're all being together and they're doing their thing. All right, and every one of them is linked together on the bottom. If you do this right, you don't even have to go back and touch them because you build the module in. Sorry, my dad's emergency buzzer went off, so I just want to make sure my sister had him. Anyway, I apologize for being distracted there for a second. Okay, so we all kind of understand what I'm doing here on this and how I'm doing it. So there's a piece of this here. There's a piece of, I have it over here on my website. And my friend Sarah over here has none of this going on. So as a result, Google has no idea what she does. All right, so if I kind of come back to her just for a second, there's these attributes that Google are looking for. So I strongly recommend you put these things together the way I'm telling you. if you do it the way I'm telling you, you will be very much more apt to have. Yeah, my dad's fine. My sister's got him. Sorry about that. I just wanted to make sure we put an emergency buzzer on him and it went off. So anyway, okay. So with all of that said, you now know about the evergreen pages. I'm going to tell you, if I had to give you a formula per se, I'm going to tell you 1,000 words, and try to get some keywords in there. I'm telling you 1%, so that implies 10. But, like if I look at something like Mover Houston and Houston Mover, a lot of the times those words are only there once. Sometimes they're there as few as none. So you have to base it on your industry. You can't just do it formulaically anymore, but try to make your pages between 800 and 1,200 words. Every page you output, that starts to get you in a good place to be. And that's your evergreen pages. So now let's talk about blogs, okay? Because a lot of SEO companies talk about blogs, but I think most people don't even know why. I'm going to use Steve's here for a minute. Okay. So one thing we did, and I'm going to say I found this to work very well across the board on stuff. You know how I have my website with a video, a podcast, a short, and I have a write-up. It's because it helps Google understand what the page is about and what we're saying. Now, if you look, this is Education Savings Plan for August 2024. Okay. So this is his discussion about having an education savings plan. And the numbers quoted here are for 2024. So you know how I told you that things that change, things that are not that are more opinion related, that's why these are blogs, because blogs can be temporary. If anybody remembers how a blog started, I mean, people were saying, hey, I got up and the sun's out today. It's whatever's on your mind. It's whatever you think about. It's whatever you want to talk about. Like I'm going to do one that says why, you need a SEO expert to build a website and not just a web designer. I'm going to do a whole talk on that, and build it, but that's my opinion. It's not, what do you say? How do you say? It's not permanent. It's not set in stone that's somebody with web design background may come up and say, hey, this is why you need a web designer, not an SEO person. So, that's the difference on that. Okay, what's the question here? It says having a blog is blog's best platform. I don't understand what you're asking on that one. But so on all of this, if you look, these are all things that do with 2024 with that are not necessarily something that's going to stay etched in stone. This one's talking about company culture, which I'm wondering where that links to. All right, so see, I'm going to have to go back and get that one. I don't like how that one links, because that one says company culture and it's linked to a tax page. It should not be linked to a tax page. The tax compliance goes to a tax compliance page. If you notice, what I'm doing is I'm following the words through to make sure they're going to the right pages. Okay, so this tax compliance one we'll have to look at, as I don't really no, these are opinions. These are absolutely opinions. So anything on the blogs become opinions. They're not agnostic, they're not set in stone. This is his way of saying what to do to improve a company's culture. And he gave 4 bullet points of what that looks like. And then he came down and he's talking about how these should relate and what they relate to. So as a result, this is a blog. This is not a, this is your opinion. It says where to have a blog is safe and part of your brand. Yes, my blog, I eat off our blog. I mean, this is where I put all my SEO classes. They're all these SEO classes are my opinion. You know, what I do is not 1 and 1 equals 2. I mean, in this world, it may be 1 and 1 equals 5 because that's what Google says it is today. And then tomorrow it may say it's -1 because they've changed something again. So, but it is all part of my brand. It's all my opinion, and you can see the evolution of who I am, how I interact, what I say, and what's going on. And I think it helps add to my credibility. I get people coming and signing up for service because of this class, and because of, not because you guys sat in the class, but because they found the video somewhere and they're listening to what I've got to say and realizing that I'm not like every other SEO person they've ever talked to. All right, this one says, if I make a change to our website, how fast can you expect it to move up or down on Google? You know, that's a really good question. It depends. So like, if Google comes to your page a lot, it's going to be a lot faster. I was just telling some folks today that if I wanted to get a page in faster or changes faster, I'm going to go tag it on X. And because Google will pick it up off of Twitter, and just go respider it. And by the way, I have really a hard time calling Twitter X, so it may always be Twitter to me. I'm not sure. So as far as how fast, so like I can do sometimes within a day or two. And then other times it's sitting there for 6 to 8 weeks because it's not a well-trafficked page. Google hasn't picked it up. It's not come across it. And then I usually go tweet about it, and then it'll pick it up and do it that way. So, and then sometimes if you make a change, so here's the thing you've got to think about, okay? I would never change a page that was ranking #1. I would never think to do that. I would never want to do that. You know, because if I touch a page, I risk losing that ranking. So I always know where my page is to know if I want to make those changes. And if I don't want to make those change, if the change is not important enough, sometimes I just forego it. So before we go changing pages or fine tuning pages, I would make sure I knew where it ranked and what I would be losing. And then you have to decide is what you're losing as much as what you're gaining. It says, how can, I don't know what this says. You're gonna have to clean that up because it doesn't, it says, how can use all this? No ASP. So rewrite that sentence and I'll answer that question. Okay, so from a content standpoint, we kind of know we need evergreen pages. We know that we need blog pages. The next thing I'm going to talk about is keywords. And I'm going to give you a little short primer on this just because we're running out of time. Okay, so let's do web design in Houston because that's where we are. Again, it still has no idea where I am. It's all screwed up. Actually, let me do this. Okay. All right. So I changed that to Kingwood. I actually have a Kingwood web design page that I need to fix. And then I have, so you see that I actually have multiple listings within this because I've got 2 pages that they wanted. I actually have a third because that's my company too. It's one way to do it is just put a whole bunch of websites up and rule the whole thing. But I've got a 10 spots. I've got 3. But with all of that said, I need to know what my keywords are on things, and I need to know what words I want to pick. And I probably put up the wrong browser. Hang on. Let me change this and reshare my screen. So I use a plugin called Keywords Everywhere, and it plugs into both Chrome and Edge. It does not plug into Safari. So I'm going to do, let's keep it Kingwood. All right. So I'm going to do this, but this is doing it from Bing. But if you look, it's giving me the volume of searches. If you look underneath here, it says how many searches a month and what the cost per search is. When I come down here, you'll notice that I have, let me see if it gives me this. It's not giving it to me because it has a map. Oh no, here it is. Okay. So this Keywords Everywhere plugin, it gives me data and data trends for everything. And it tells me what the amount of searches are. Now, this is giving me weird answers because Bing is not as well integrated as Google is. So I'm going to change this over to Google and get out of Bing. Okay, if I do Kingwood web design, my other website's #1. And I think vertical web's #3 or 4 here. So yeah. So I actually have the #1 spot and I have the #4 spot, okay, with our two companies. But with that said, Google gives me the keywords here at the top, and then it'll give me the answers down here on the side of what my keywords are. For every keyword that you want, you need to go and look and get a list of the long tail keywords. You need to get a list of whatever these other words are so you know to use them. All right. And you notice that when I pull this in, Google's is much more pointed. So I have graphics, I have websites, I have Kingwood High School website, which is kind of odd that that's a search term. But I have everything there that I need that tells me if I was going to write a page about Kingwood web design, what I would need to include in it. There's also, and actually, I think I'm just going to open up my whole computer here a second, just because this is a pain that you have to keep sharing it. I can't move around well. So let me just share the whole screen a second. Okay, so you should see my whole desktop now for the most part, I think. Okay, so if I come back over here, the other thing that I do is that I have a tool that I use that's called onpage.ai. And in OnPage, I can go ahead and I can put in, all right, let's see, Kingwood web design. Now this one has some cost associated to it to do that, but it depends on how serious you want to be. But let's see. Let me just start. All right. I'm trying to get to the right page because what I want to do is I just want to shove this in. Remember, I told you if a page ranks, leave it. Look, this page kind of breaks all the rules, but I've left it just because it ranks. So hold on. So what this thing is going to do is it's going to tell me how close I got to what I have to do to fix this page to help me make it be #1. Now, granted, this is not a Bible. it gives me suggestions, and not all suggestions are worth it, but it's going to tell me some of the things that I need to do to change to make that page move up. It takes a minute to think about it, so I'm sorry about that. All right, so it tells me my page is short on words. It tells me my page has 18, that the other guys all have 1,300. So I need to add pages. I need to add words to the page. Okay. And you see these words in red, they're all the words that are missing off my page that I now need to consider working into my page. I also have these words here that I need to work into my page, because again, remember I told you Google takes the other guy's page, averages it out, and puts your page against what it thinks is number one. So what this has done is it's taken and putting me up against the number one websites. And it tells you what they are. And we're actually here in the list itself. And if you look, you'll see that this page is way off the confidence score with a 52. So I kind of need to fix that number 3 page to make it move up some. It's missing a lot of these words, and that's why it's only has a 52 instead of into the 90s. But why I'm showing you this is so that you can see all the words that you have to use and incorporate into a page to make that page work right. Let's see. How did you get the keywords? I kind of know what my keywords are, in the sense that I know it's web design, web hosting, and SEO. When I put them in, it'll start to give me what are some of the subwords that would be used. And it gives me ideas of what that works with. So I always make sure that I know my base words, but I also know any subsequent ancillary words that would be attached to it. Frankly, one of the first mistakes we made is we used to call it, instead of web hosting, used to call it website hosting. And the thing is that people called it web hosting. So the second we changed our keyword to web hosting, it helped our traffic go up. So that was an example of using the wrong word versus using the right word. All right, let's see. What was the first plugin that you used in Google? Oh, okay, that's Keywords Everywhere. Let me write that down for you here. I think that's a must, because it helps you understand what the words are that you need to target and have put in your page. Intrinsically, if you put the right words in your page, this other page works out and comes out right. I didn't write that Kingwood page. I wrote that, God, I had to write that back in 2015. That's how old that page is. So it's funny to me that that page keeps coming up, because it keeps coming up because of the power of the website, not the accuracy of the page. So at some point I need to go through and actually build a Kingwood web design page. And I think once I do, we'll be sitting at the top of web design Kingwood. Or Kingwood Web Design, which we are, because ACTWD is there, which is my old, I shouldn't say my old company. It's also my one that we did. It says, can you show how you did it again? All right, a little bit more specific, how I did what? Because I just hit like 8 things in that last paragraph. All right, should keyword usage come across all platforms, blogs, and oh, yeah. Okay, hold on. And then yes, it should be across everything, and everything should be cohesive, and then everything should link together. And when you do that, it starts to reinforce the signal. So Google knows we do web design. For the longest time, they only thought we did web hosting because everything was so web hosting heavy. And I actually, when I put vertical web up, I actually changed that, because, and they still keep trying to bubble us back up for web hosting. Not that I don't want the web hosting business, don't misunderstand. But there a lot of people, when they search for web hosting, they're looking for GoDaddy. They're not looking for us. So as a result, I don't get a lot of that share of that business anymore. And that's okay. I mean, we get a lot of the SEO and web design more so than web hosting at this point. If you go to this one says you mentioned teaching classes and offering other clinics, how do we sign up? If you go to Vertical Web and follow the class link at the top, it gives you the schedule. It also gives you a sign up to add yourself to our email list. Once you're on the email list, you'll get a calendar. We have been making a full court press to have that calendar out the first of every month. And then we send subsequent reminders throughout the time for each class. So we may bug you with reminders, but what we're finding is that as we send the reminders, the attendance goes up because people remember, oh, wait, I can go to that. So right now, this time of year, I've got, as crazy as it's going to sound, there's only 2 more classes for 2024. There's going to be one in Kingwood on the December the 10th or 11th, something like that. And then this one here, that's going to do a year-end wrap up. So
We're going to do 11th at night again, 6 to 8 p.m.
okay, so we'll be December 11th, and we'll be doing a year-end wrap up, what we've learned this year, what we need to know, where AI comes in, how to use AI, all that kind of stuff, and then where I think we're going. Mostly because Google's going to have to catch up and keep up, and it's actually running behind a little bit. It's still 80% of the traffic is going through Google, but they're a little bit behind the times. And in fact, Bing has been a little bit more aggressive than it has in the past and took over the ChatGPT market. So that's kind of what I'm going to be talking about next time. So yeah, if you go to verticalweb.com and follow the class link at the very tippy top, that will take you to the live classes, and it will take you to what you need to do.
You have about 6 more minutes while you're doing that. I'll put in that, and I'll put in the other event that we told them about earlier.
Okay.
We're having an IRS event at the Katy campus. It's not featuring Beth. It's featuring someone from the IRS who wants to tell you in advance how to do the things you need to do to avoid the pitfalls. So it's going to be about avoiding business scams and about just maintaining compliance. And so we're going to do multiple events with her because the Center for Entrepreneurship at Southeast has been doing events with her for a while. So they've got some coming up on site at Southeast, and then we're going to work with her to do some more digital ones. But the one we're doing on December 4th is at our HEC Katy campus. And so I've just put that in there. And Beth, do you want to go get the link you're talking about that you put in earlier and put it
Yeah,
down there? Okay. All right. So there's going to be a lot of good stuff to pick from. We just want to help you. Like Score said, your success is our success. So we want to empower you to do a great job with your website, with your taxes, with whatever it is that involves small business success. So I'm glad to see so many people from our current Small Business Success series here today. We were talking about it because we did a whole week about sales and marketing last week. And so it was top of mind. And then we're doing another week this week called Minimizing Risk. And so that it made the IRS event coming up more relevant as well. So we love to be able to offer even more. And we're looking forward to graduating our Small Business Success cohort 28 this Thursday. So thanks everyone for logging in today. And if you're new, we're welcome. And if you're coming back like Maria for time after time, we're happy to see you too.
So does anybody have anything else on the way out the door? Yeah, I'm not going to send it to you. We're going to put it on our website. As soon as I get it back from Score, we'll have it up and you can go and, you can just go visit on the website there. So hopefully that is a help for you. Okay. On that note, are we out, Sandra?
We are out. Yes, this is wrapping it up.
Happy
They're all just saying a lot of
Thanksgiving,
thank
everyone.
yous.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. Happy Thanksgiving to you too. And we'll send thoughts and good wishes your way for your dad and your sister and you. And we'll see you all hopefully again on December 11th with Beth. to wrap
right.
up the year right.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night. Good night, everyone. Thank you for all the thank yous. Here we go. Ending webinar.
That's a wrap for this week's Internet Marketing Clinic. We'll see you next week. Thank you.